All right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So today we're going to be talking about round bill crankbait. So this is classified as, any round bill crankbait. Typically, right now we're going to be dealing with deep diving crankbait. So, your 3XD, your 5XD, your 6XD, all the way up to 8 and 10XDs, okay? So any kind of round bill deep diving crankbait, but we're going to go over the different types and what they're for, when to use them, so on and so forth. So stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. All right, guys, so round bill crankbait. So let's talk about, the different styles and stuff, and typically what you're going to be using right now. So one of the biggest ones you're going to be using right now this time of year is like a 5 and a 6XD, the deep diving crankbaits, anything from that 10 to 25 foot range plus. These are typically the baits you're going to be running during the summer. Now, one of the reasons that I prefer Strike King over any of them is because I'm comfortable with them. These are the ones that I've always used, and I just feel comfortable catching fish with them. Use whatever brand you prefer, but understanding, the different styles. If you look, this bait right here, it's rounded on the sides, it's more sleek. What this bait does is once it gets down and hits bottom, it hunts. It does a thing that we call hunting. So this thing will start scooting across left and right down different sides of, the whatever flat you may be fishing. So with that being said, if you're looking to fish like flats and stuff like that with your crankbaits, these deep points or anything like that, these things right here will hunt, and it's more of an aggressive style to help trigger those reaction bites. So areas that I'm gonna be throwing these is, your flats, your long points, anything like that, your ledges. It just really depends on the depth and can that bait get down there to them. This is typically a style that you use early summer simply because it's got that real aggressive hunting action. Now the retrieve that I typically go with when those water temps go 75 plus, like right now here it's 84, the water temp's 84, and in some spots it's already 87, 88. So, we got a real warm water temp, but I want a real aggressive approach, okay? Because I'm trying to get those fish to react. I'm not really looking for them to run it down, check it out and stuff like that. I just want to get it by them as close as I can and get them just to turn and react to that bait. So I'm going to be, as soon as that bait hits the water, I'm reeling as fast as I possibly can. I got my rod tip in the water pointed straight down and I'm burning that bait. I guarantee if you do that during the summer, you will catch more fish on your round bill deep diving crankbaits. Now, you are going to burn out your arm. It is a hard retrieve, just like, y'all see me throw the jerk baits and stuff like that. You're going to get your arm wore out. It's going to burn out. But I promise you get on that kind of bite. It's aggressive, it's fast, it's fun. You'll load the boat up super quick. So it's definitely a retrieve and a technique that you need in your tackle box. All right, so another one we're going to talk about when it comes to round bill styles. This is another one that I really like to run. This is a Rapala DT Series. Okay, the Rapala DT Series, it's got a more subtle action. Yeah, it does, it does have that wide wobble and stuff, but it's more subtle going through the water. It doesn't have that real aggressive hunting action. That's super quick, moving back and forth and stuff like that, but still I'm using this bait in a super quick way. So what I'm doing is I'm throwing that bait out there as far as I can. I'm grinding it down as fast as I can. As soon as it hits bottom, I go with a steady retrieve, not a crawl, but I'm moving that bait quickly, okay? Because I want this bait interacting with the bottom. I don't know if you can see it or not, but right there is the bill, how this is eat up. The bill is not eat up because the fish have attacked this bait so much. The bills eat up because I dig this bait into everything. So, you got anywhere from your DT10s, your DT14s, your DT20s. You've got all different kinds of DT series, and that tells you the depth that you need to be fishing. What I suggest, if you're fishing 13 foot of water, use something like a DT14. If you're fishing, 15 foot of water, use something like a DT15. Make sure it'll get down there. If it doesn't, swap over to one that dives a little deeper and stuff. So just keep playing with that. Make sure you're keeping contact with the bottom when you're looking for fish on your electronics. You want to see those fish positioned close to the bottom, because if they're suspended up off the bottom and you're throwing a crankbait at the bottom, you're going to be fishing under them, and a lot of times it's hard to get those reaction stripes, if you even can get those reaction strikes, from fishing under them. But either way, the Rapala DT Series is a great one during the summertime. Now another one that I really like that y'all all saw me catch tons of fish on, this is the Spro rock crawler. This is one of the only Spro baits that I really prefer to run. You may be well familiar with it, but this is a bait that typically people are using in that late fall and then winter. It does have a, it does have a hunting action, but it's slow and it creeps over rocks so well and triggers those bites even when the fish are lethargic. So it is still a great summer bait, but don't forget about winter crankbaits, stuff like that. So this would be a great bait that I typically use late fall, and then throughout winter, February, March, possibly. It just depends on the weather and the water temps and stuff like that. But the rock crawler, two different, or well, I think there's 3 or 4 different series, but I only carry 2 series, the 55 and the 50. Either way, all the baits will be linked down in the description. But I want this bait making contact with rocks. It's called a rock crawler for a reason. This is a great bait to trigger bites on those rocky banks, riprap, any kind of banks like that. You do not have to have a steep incline. This one dives like 10 to 12 foot. I run 12-pound tests. You do have to constantly check your line, but that ensures that I get all 10 to 12 foot out of this bait. But just a crawl, I'm crawling this bait across bottom. It'll trigger a lot more reaction strikes, especially when the fish become more lethargic. All right, so let's talk about your flat-sided crankbaits. As y'all can see, this sucker right here is chewed to pieces. This is the Strike King flat-sided crankbait. This is perfect during those wintertime situations, especially when I'm fishing, like the blueback herring lakes or any lake really loaded with spotted bass. I'm typically going to throw these flat-sided crankbaits. It's got a real tight wiggle. During the winter, you'll realize tight wiggles is perfect. That's the reason people throw rattle traps and all that throughout the spring and the winter and stuff like that, is because it's got that tight wiggle pattern. This one right here is no different, but it dives a lot deeper, so you can get this into areas you can't get your square bills and stuff like that. So this is perfect, throughout the winter and then early spring to trigger a lot of bites, on rip wrap and stuff like that. I use it a lot for catching suspended fish, but I'm kind of crawling the bait and then I'm kind of popping it at times just to give it an erratic action. But I'm not doing that summertime pop where y'all see me do, where I'm reeling, then a pop, and then a reel, pop. I'm kind of doing a reel, pop, pop, then I'm pausing, and then I start reeling again. I may give it a couple more pops or not. It just depends. But one of the main things that I do with all my crankbaits, y'all know about this, short shanky WG Kamakatsu hooks. Use whatever brand you prefer, but I highly suggest using a short shanky WG hooks. Your hookup ratio, I'm telling you, will go up tons. They spread out wider, but they're tighter to the bait, so it comes through cover and stuff a lot better. You're not going to get hung up as much, and then when fish go to swipe at it, a lot of times you still get that hookup. So it makes a world of difference with your hookup ratio. But guys, that's round bill crankbaits. Is how I use round bill crankbaits. When, where, why. Let's talk about the setup. All right, so now my setup is super simple. Medium, moderate action rods. I highly suggest going with a composite rod. This is not. This is one of the rods I got from Duckett when I worked with them. But if you can go with, a composite graphite mix rod, there's a lot of good rods out on the market. I'll have stuff linked down in the description that I highly suggest. Not sponsored by anybody. This is just what I use and what I recommend, not only to catch more fish, but just your hookup ratio, period. It will, I promise you, using the right equipment, it changes your game a ton. So medium, moderate action rod, composite graphite, whatever you can afford, whatever you feel comfortable using. I typically go with a 7 foot or less, okay? With the crankbaits, that's 12 minus. So a crankbait that dives 12 feet max, all the way down to 2 foot, okay? That's what I'm gonna go with, is a 7 foot. I typically try to go with a 6/8 to 1 gear ratio or slower, simply because I can speed up, but I still got a lot of torque. What this allows me to do is when I'm fishing those ranges, that 12 minus, when I get those hang-ups, in brush or rocks or something like that, maybe I need to get the fish out of cover real quick, I can get those fish out of cover super quick because I have a lot of torque and not a whole lot of, speed. So that's the reason that, 6/8 to 1, I would say, or lower. So you can get away with a 7 1 to 1. Just be careful, play around with it, figure out what you like, but that's what I suggest. Now let's talk about those 13 plus. So anything that's, above 12 foot of water, or lower than 12 foot of water actually, but you get what I'm saying, a deeper diving crankbait. I'm gonna run something, I wanna run the same medium moderate action rod, but I'm gonna go with a longer rod. So this is a 7'6", okay? It's a medium cranking rod, and the reason that I like to go with the longer rod is simply because I can get longer casts. Okay, so if I'm using this bait right here, which is a Strike King 5XD, and you know, I don't know if y'all can see it or not, the bill's all chewed up, but that's because I'm making these super long casts as far as I can, over 100 feet. And you know, I'm burning this bait down, getting it down to the bottom super quick, and then that way it allows me to cover more water across the flats, ledges, or anything like that I'm fishing. It just keeps me in the strike zone longer, therefore I catch more fish. Same thing, swap out the hooks, short shank EWG Gamakatsu hooks, and then this is a 6:4 to 1 gear ratio. It's a little bit slower than the other one that I had, but it gives me a lot of torque. I do like a lot of torque when it comes to my crankbaits, simply because I can get them out of that cover wherever I need to. I can control the fish very well. I can back off. I can do whatever I need to do. I just feel like I have a lot of control with the slower gear ratios. So guys, that's round bill crankbaits. That's my WindWares, Wise, my setups, everything. That's all I can think of to give y'all. I hope it gives you a lot more fun and a lot more success this summer. I'm telling you, you start running crankbaits, you'll have a load of fun. You'll load the boat down. It's just amazing to do. So don't forget, if the video helps you, make sure to like. It helps me out a whole lot. Subscribe to the channel. You know, like I was looking at the analytics the other day, like 67% of y'all that watch the channel are not even subscribed. Subscribe. It helps me out a whole lot. I'm always putting out fishing tips, shorts, all kinds of stuff. You know, be a part of the community. That's what we do here. We're trying to learn, every single one of us as anglers, including myself. I'm trying to share my experience with y'all. Also, we got members only, $2 a month. Helps me out with gas and equipment and stuff like that. If you can't afford it, don't want to do it, I completely understand. But thanks for stopping by either way, guys. I'll see you next time. Good. That's the reason I'm talking slower. And I'm not a smart man. Am I good on boogers? I feel like I got boogers. Okay.